as time flies by, you'll open up your eyes wide. You feel it's gonna go your way. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. Hey, 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 it's a brand new day.
Welcome back to Marbella Now. My name is Nicole King, and it's a pleasure to be here once again in the studios of Radio Television Marbella. My first guest is a lady that I talk a lot with, but not face to face or even hearing her voice, just on those emails, lots of emails, particularly coming up to the United Nationalities of Marbella Summit, or when it comes to having one of the Kudeka volunteers, founders, whatever, coming onto the program. So it makes me very happy to start this week's program with Esther Reyes. Welcome to Marbella Now.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm very happy to be here.
It's so, because there's a lot of communication. That's what you are, PR for Kudeka. So there's a lot of communication, but to get the chance to actually meet a metre and a half away from each other, but face to face, is really very nice. So before we go into you, who are you? How did you get involved with Kudeka? Let's just start there.
Well, that's a very nice question that you're asking now. Is actually a friend of mine who is actually working in Kudeka. She told me about a position that was vacant, and she said, "Oh, I think you're so good. You would be excellent for this job. Please send your CV, and they'll interview you, and we'll see. Maybe you're lucky." And then I was thinking, "Oh, that's a job I've never done before, but I may have some skills for it, so I'm going to apply for it." I did. They called me, they interviewed me, and it was like, you know, love at first sight. And they hired me, and this was like 4 years ago, and I'm super happy to work for Kudeka.
Oh, congratulations, because I can see you're still super happy. But what were you doing until then? What was the experience that you were living?
Well, I've done many different things, and well, I can tell you that I studied English philology, English literature, because my passion for English is so huge and so big, and it's amazing, and I just decided to study that, and I went abroad for some time, for many years, and when I came back to Spain, I was working as an English teacher, and also I did many different things, like working in a hotel, and then I was working in a spa, and then I had a few certificates for massage treatments and therapies and beauty treatments and things like that. Not very similar to what I'm doing or what I studied, but I explored a few different fields. But when this job came to me, it was like these all different skills I seem to have were perfectly mixing.
With your personality together, because it really is. I don't think we realise that the steps we go through in life are the things we need to have on board to then be able to do the job of our dreams or have the life of our dreams. You have to accumulate that experience. So living in the UK, which part of England were you in? Because your accent is from somewhere. It's amazing, actually, you have such a strong English accent.
Well, I studied, as I said, in England, and I was in the Sheffield University. So when I was there, I didn't get the accent, the Yorkshire accent, but I got a very strong British accent. But then, like 10 years later, I went to South Korea for 2 years, more or less. And then there, I got engaged with an American man, which I didn't marry with him, but I got his accent quite a lot. So I have this mixture between British, American, and
but that's nice, because living in this area, you really are cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
You just have you're a citizen of the world, and you have that mix. So you're originally from Malaga. Is this your home city?
Yes, not from Marbella, but from Malaga, yes. And I was living in Malaga until I was 11 years old. And then we moved, my family came to Marbella. And well, I started to study and everything. So my younger years where I lived them here, and then I just went to travel and all that.
Well, you're a very lucky girl, because it sounds like you've been to some interesting places?
Well, yeah, actually, I'm very pleased that you're asking me these questions because I never get to be asked about it. And it's really nice because it brings me back to my nicest memories, actually.
So come on, tell me more, tell me more.
Oh, well, I
Some of
don't
those
know.
experiences, because we don't all get to go to places that you have, and it's nice to share, especially
Yeah.
when something, as you say, brings back such joyous memories.
Well, yeah, it's really interesting that you're asking me about this because it's really a pleasure for me thinking about it because when let's say my last experience was in Seoul in South Korea. I was studying there and completing kind of little thesis there, and I found it really hard to be there because we are super different from each other, but it was really fulfilling and it was, how'd you say that? It was very rich for me, a very rich experience. I learned a lot, but I have to say that by the time I had to leave, it was when I started to adapt. And I'm very good adapting to situations and places and that and all that, but I don't know, it was really, the cultural shock was really big, so.
But it's funny because I think that probably was the perfect preparation to then work with an association such as Kudeka,
Yeah.
that you have the cancer hospice. There are a lot of families that suffer, not just the person who has the problem. And I think what you went through when you learned to see that we are not all privileged, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can be a great person and have really shitty things happen to you.
That's true.
A support system is fundamental, whether it's in Korea or it's down the road.
That's true. And actually, you know, I'm Spanish, and here in Spain, you probably know that there is not a strong tradition for NGOs or associations. This is growing now. This is getting bigger now, but it's not very powerful. It wasn't very powerful. When I went to England, it was rare not to be a volunteer for an association, Oxfam, anything. Everybody was doing something, and I was really surprised with it. I was like, no, in my hometown, in my country, we don't do this. This is really strange for me. I learned it right there. And then exactly as you say, when I went visiting other places, other countries, I realized we are the stranger. We are not really doing what we should be doing.
I wonder why, because also when you think about the charity shops, I'm a big fan and a big client of the Kudeka charity shops. We have a beautiful community, and a lot of very privileged people live here, and they give away things that sometimes they haven't even worn. But that's something I've perhaps noticed. As a kid, I would go and buy a lot from an Oxfam shop because
You
I didn't
see.
want the off-the-rack fashion. I wanted something different.
You see?
But here in Spain, I also noticed perhaps a reticence to buy second-hand clothes. It looked
Yeah.
like, more like a used clothes.
Yeah.
Second-hand, and we look at it as vintage,
Yeah.
you know, off-the-rack, you know, not off-the-rack fashion,
That
something
is right.
separate.
That is so right. When I was younger, or when I was a kid or a teenager, no, you don't want any secondhand. You don't, not clothes, not anything, nothing. It has to be new, which is not, that's not giving anything back to the community.
I often wonder, though, maybe it's something to do with the war or not having had, and it takes
I
a
think
few
so.
generations of the not having had, wanting to have, and then wanting your kids to have more than you had, and maybe it's just...
think you're very right,
It
yeah.
could be something, because I've thought about this a lot. Why
You've got
is
a
that
point
such
there.
a big cultural
Yeah.
difference regarding using clothes that aren't new, because particularly what they pollute the rivers. Anyway, let's get back on track. When you arrived, like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on, and we're launching this new campaign. So tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Well, the new campaign, well, is getting big now. But as you know, we are struggling really badly. When I say we, I mean Kudeka and all of us in the end, but we're struggling. And the COVID thing, the COVID situation, the crisis has hit us very hard. And as you know, we had to close all the 23 shops, the charity shops. We had to close them. This is our basic source of income And then the events, the charity events, we had to stop them. Everything was blocked. Second source of income. So everything is blocked. We don't have any income anymore. So what are we doing? Well, how are we going to care for all these people needing us and the families? And situation is really critical. And then we thought, excuse me, then we thought, what are we going to do with this? We planned this crowdfunding campaign, and we just launched it. And it's very simple, actually. It's just you go to a website and you decide how much money you'd like to donate, and it goes straight to one project, which is a one home care team. This is composed by a doctor, a nurse, a physiotherapist, psychologist, and social worker. So all these people together make a team, and they go to everybody's houses, to their homes, and then we give the care they need.
So this is kind of like looking at everything that you guys do, prioritizing, this is what you have to save first.
Yeah.
We've got to make sure that this team is available, because obviously a lot of people can't go to the hospice, but they do rely on Kudeka for the support for the patient, but also the family. I know, even with our local town councillor, how grateful he was with help, you know, with his mother and stuff. So there's a lot of people I speak to who have been touched, personally touched, that then in a community like ours, you know, we do feel it. We want to help.
It is a situation that's touching everybody's heart, I think. Not only us, but everybody's heart. And you want it or not, in the end, most of us will be in need of Kudeka, coming to our families, our houses. So, as you just said, we need to prioritize this team, because we are here to provide care at the end of a person's life. And during the COVID, many people died alone with no dignity, no love, no respect. That's not what we want, and we're here to provide that. But we need the money for that.
Yeah, obviously the professionals have to be paid,
Excuse me.
and that is fundamental, because without the money, the professionals can't dedicate their time. I'm not going to say a vicious circle. We want it to be a loving circle, and I do think it's really nice that we're seeing very much now that our youth also kind of need a purpose and to be more involved. And then we have businesses that also need help. There's no tourism. We are looking all unto each other. And I think this mix of students with the charities, with the businesses, if we really support each other, there are ways that we can, you know, at least cover the basics, which is so important.
And it's really good that you're mentioning young people, because as you probably know, our volunteers are older people, because they retire and they find us to do something good for the community. But because of the COVID crisis, they had to stay home. So when we started to open our shops again, we didn't have anybody to work the shops. So we went for younger generations, and they are responding so nicely and with so much motivation and so much, you know, strength and vitality. It's really good. And we're going to have a new generation of new volunteers until we can get back to our old volunteers, which we miss so much.
It's funny, though, because things do have a way of working themselves out, that the youth need that interaction. The situation has given that to arise, and I even think it's a great moment to get all these charity shops online. Everybody has shops online now. There's no reason why, with a whole team of youngsters behind it, they can't be taking photographs of the items, getting them online. So at least something that is such a big income for you guys is definitely, I think, a way we can adapt our challenge. Well, I can't thank you enough, Esther, for coming to chat with us.
Thank
I know
you.
you guys need volunteers, youngsters.
Yeah.
Obviously, support, financial support.
Yeah.
Particularly with this campaign for the necessary team at Kudeka.
Yeah.
And obviously donations for the shops.
Yes,
And
please.
customers for the shops.
Yes, please. Yes.
Am I missing anything?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited with your nice words and chatting to me, so warm, and it's been a loving experience today.
Oh, that's good. So I haven't put you off the name Nicole then.
We'll keep Nicole.
No one is a private joke. Thank you so much, Esther.
Thank you, Nicole.
Well, obviously, contact Kudeco if you want to help in any way and go to the shops if you want to go shopping. Loads of things going on there. We're going now to some messages from our sponsors, but don't go away because we'll be right back.
When I'm the designated driver, I think it's only fair that I get to choose a Zero Hero venue that rewards me with free soft drinks. My friends all get to choose and booze, and they feel safe going home with me. Make sure that you get your reward for being the designated driver. Why pay if you don't have to?
Judy likes to consider herself a clever young woman, which is why she thought very carefully before choosing her insurance company. Now that she needs it, she's jolly glad she chose Linear Director, as it looks as if she might have something better to do. Why don't you be clever, like Judy? Call Linear Director on 952 14 78 34 and see which policy is best for you.
Zero Hero, welcome to the playwright.
Hello guys, welcome to Harbor. All the designated drivers are welcome here to the Harbor. And we are very proud to be a Zero Hero partner.
G-Wine is happy to be Zero Hero partner.
Clara are proud to present Zero to Hero. Never drink and drive.
McNulty's is proud to be a Zero Hero partner.
Hi guys, Ross here from Hogan Stand. Proud to be a member of the Zero Hero campaign. And we recommend everybody. Nobody drives drinking. Everybody who drives a car doesn't have any alcohol in their system, and we're proud to sponsor the Zero Hero program.
Welcome back to the program. So nice to have you with us, and so nice that our local resident businesses are jumping on board with our Zero Hero incentive. I do encourage you all, when we go out, to go and choose them first, because it's nice to have companies that care about our local resident community. Joining me now in the program is Roger, all the way from Ireland, no less. Thanks to the technology of Zoom, he's joining us here in the studio and is representing the Andalusian International Artists Group. Is that correct, Roger? Good afternoon.
Absolutely, spot on, Nicole, spot on.
So, Roger, are you trapped in Ireland? Are you normally here on the Costa del Sol at this time of year?
Yes, I've had to cancel 2 trips to Spain this year already. The first one I had booked in January, long before the COVID made its journey. And I had to cancel, that trip was, I was going out in May, because on the 6th of May, because every June on the Costa del Sol for the last 11 or 12 years, I have run Bloomsday readings on the beach in Fuengirola, which are extracts. I get people to read extracts from James Joyce's Ulysses. And I used to get people to read them in their own languages. So I've had people from all over the world read on the 16th of June every year. So I couldn't do it this year. Then I tried to get out. In at the end of October. I booked a flight there for the 31st of October. But then now we're in our second lockdown. So there's no fun. Really,
it's very disappointing also for those of us here. I have to say, we do miss you. It's not the same not having all our international community being able to make it back home.
Yes. Well, I was just, believe it or not, yesterday, Mijas Foreign Residence Department contacted me and asked me to make a small video as part of their appeal for Quedeca, who are in terrible trouble this year because all their shops are closed and all of their events have had to be cancelled. So their funds have dried up, and so that I happened to do that yesterday. And it's a great pleasure to be on with your good self on Marbella TV or Now TV, because this is for the second time. I can't remember which year I was on last, 2017, I think. But it's a great pleasure for me to be on and to shoot the breeze with you for whatever length of time you have.
For me too, and it's funny you mentioning, well, not funny, but mentioning Quedeca. It's like a Quedeca week program. Liz Parry works very closely, and she started off the program this week, and then also Esther Reyes, who is marketing department of Quedeca, has been on the show with us this week as well, talking about this, because obviously, as you say, a lot of charities are going through a tougher time than usual, not being able to have their shops open. A lot of elderly people now are a bit more worried about their health, perhaps, and are not volunteering as much. So we really do need to see how we can compensate.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Roger, what is it that you actually do or have done as a career? What has been your life story?
Well, you know, I finished school. I went to all private schools in Ireland. I went to Willow Park, Blackrock College, Rockwell College, University College Dublin, and then I went off to what's now called the University of the South Bank in London. And this was, at the time, it was a polytechnic. But you know the way over the years they graduated their polytechnics turned them into universities, you know, in name anyway. And that's where I was. And then I worked in different companies. We had our own business, family business, which I ran for a number of years. And then that sort of closed up, and a brother of mine took over, and I went on and ended up working for, in the end, I suppose, I worked for 20 years for the Rehab Group in Ireland, which is a very large company that deals with the training of people with disabilities for work. And it's a very, very big organization in an Irish context, but has plenty. It would be a bit like a scaled down version of ONSE.
Very commendable.
You know, and I was at that for 20 years. But in the meantime, I was an artist, and that's how I really earned my money. And as an artist, I exhibited widely. And, you know, I painted and I sold my paintings. And this is what I did.
You're very lucky, because to be an artist who can make money off his work in his lifetime is a unique quality.
Yeah, but, you know, I remember being on with the late Karen McMahon, whom I'm sure you remember, from Mihas TV.
Yes.
Local TV. And she used to interview me quite regularly when we had exhibitions in my capacity as president of the Andalusian International Artists Group. Anytime we had an exhibition, she would interview me to tell her about who was coming up and who was exhibiting and what they were exhibiting, and she'd give us a great old boost. But unfortunately, a few years ago, she died. I'm not sure whether you were.
Yes, I remember. I didn't know her personally, but of course,
it was a lovely.
It was a big loss for our community, undoubtedly.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I hope that you will know that when you have anything else going on in the future, so obviously we can't replace anyone, but we'll be very willing to obviously support and promote anything that you have coming up. I imagine you're still painting and still creating.
Yes, today I'm working on an exhibition that's coming. I have 6 paintings in an exhibition coming up within the next 2 weeks, and will run throughout December into early January in the west of Ireland, in a gallery called the Courthouse Gallery. And this is obviously an old courthouse that has been converted into a gallery. And it's recognised by the authorities in Ireland as a legitimate company for fundraising or for funding, and they get funding from the Arts Council in Ireland.
Well, congratulations!
Right through the year. Well, I'm doing this as in an individual capacity because everything else is a bit screwed up. If I remember saying years ago, I remember Karen asking me one time about. She said, how is the what do they call it? That crisis. It was a financial crisis that was on there in about 2007, 2008. I said, what crisis? I said, as an artist, every single year is a crisis. We are self-employed and we're not employed by anybody else. So what you earn, you have to work for. And where you exhibit, you have to find these locations yourself, unless you're a big shot and you have an agent.
What's your inspiration, Roger? What do you find is your passion for then portraying through your art?
Well, for many years, my primary theme was based on the writings and wanderings of James Joyce.
Yes, I've noticed that he's a particular favourite of yours.
Yeah, and the other guy was Miguel de Cervantes. I've done quite a number of paintings based on his book, Don Quixote. And I also deal where I can, because I can combine my own hobbies of reading with literature and historical figures, where I have the excuse to go back and read books, and then once I can read them, I can interpret the writings of these famous authors and portray them in painting, and then make a series up perhaps to deal with that, you know?
Oh, it's lovely, and I love the way, the whole process that you have for creating your works. I think it's absolutely lovely, and I'm really happy for you that you've got an exhibition going on. Can people buy it online as well?
Hopefully. The sales for artists in general, not only on the Costa del Sol, but in Ireland and elsewhere internationally, sales are pretty poor, you know, because first of all, you can't access galleries. Now, I know that the COVID restrictions, the lockdown here in Ireland is going to lift on the 1st of December. And this particular exhibition that I'm starting in, is going to start on the 8th of December. So hopefully they're not going to have gatherings of people coming in and scoffing the vino and having a few canopies. It'll all be done virtually, but there will be by appointment visits to the gallery, because everybody is really in the same boat, you know?
Yeah, we have to support each other and I suppose adapt and change with the times. Roger, I can't thank you enough, not only for letting me reschedule our chat, but for taking the time to talk with us. I wish you and the Andalusian International Arts Group a lot of success. I know you do great work to support artists as well as yourself, and it's just lovely to see you again, and I hope to see you back on the coast very soon.
Well, yes, as soon as I can. It won't be this year, obviously, but as soon as possible. I mean, I have a place in Mijas, I have a place in Fuengirola for the last 40 years, so I'm sort of a regular on the Costa del Sol.
Well, we look forward to welcoming you back home, and in the meanwhile, Happy Christmas and Happy New Year.
And the same to you, and thank you very much indeed for getting in touch with me and remembering me.
And a big thank you to my lovely Anita Norde for helping me get you on the show. She's a great production assistant, very grateful.
All right, cheers.
God bless, thank you.
Okay, cheerio.
And that's it for us today. Big thank you to Roger joining us all the way from Ireland, where apparently it's just pouring down. Take care of yourselves. We'll be back tomorrow with more of what's going on in Marbella Now.
We can change.